Hi, everybody. I'm George, and this is the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest, at least. And this week's guest is a very funny comedian who you might have seen performing in Sopranos the musical. He's the king of the Blu-rays, according to former guest Joe Rumrill. Please welcome Nick Naney.
Hey, how's it going? Hi.
The
It's great
uproarious
to
applause.
Yes. Hello from Blu-ray Kingdom.
We had to pay tribute to the king, of course.
Of course, yeah.
um, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with horror?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so um I don't think I would necessarily consider myself a horror fan necessarily. Like I mean there are lots of horror movies that I love and I'm a fan of the genre. But I am obsessed with movies in general of all kinds.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed throughout the years is that horror seems to be the most celebrated among movie fans. You get the most like outspoken, the most uh what's the word I'm looking for? The most like I don't want to say eccentric, but maybe just
They have their
but
passion. I mean, I
they
agree.
really, yeah.
It's a lot. I think it's interesting, especially because, um, for me, I came to horror pretty late,
Oh yeah.
honestly, and it was part of me being like, I like all the other genres. It feels
Hmm.
insane for me to like try and do any kind of actual criticism without being able to experience an entire genre.
Yeah.
And so I like forced myself to get into horror.
Hmm.
But people who've had horror their whole lives, I feel like do kind of latch onto it in a way where it sort of eclipses a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I mean, so I feel like as a young film nerd, I would go to horror movie conventions, and because those were the only like movie conventions that you could really go to.
Right.
And so and there would be a lot of stuff for all sorts of genre stuff. And and of course I love it, but I think I've always been a casual fan of horror, I'll say that. And I there's a lot of ones in the genre that have freaked me out as a kid. And there are and very few these days that freak me out as an adult, but it's always nice when they do. It's always a great but I think personally I'm more of a fan of the fun ones, the ones
Sure.
that like not unlike the one today. So yeah.
Do you have a favorite subgenre, something that gets you more excited about a horror movie that's coming out?
Hmm. Well, I can say for sure that my least favorite subgenre is satanic possession. I think I can't believe that that is like such a huge like subgenre right now. And
Yeah.
it feels like every couple of months there's a trailer with some woman whose bones are bending and it's supposed to be the fucking scariest thing that
Hmm.
we've ever seen. I hate that. I think I guess I'm a fan of this roll your eyes please elevated horror subgenre that's happening right now, the A24, neon
Sure.
type of shit. I think I mean I'm definitely interested in watching. I'm almost always like going to see all those when they come out. So
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Well, today's movie gets about as far away from the A24
Yeah.
style as we could possibly get. We're talking about Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Night.
Oh yeah.
Woo! Finally.
Yeah.
Are you generally a fan of Tales from the Crypt?
I think I've seen maybe a total of like 5 episodes as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. I really want to rewatch it. I'm
It's
curious,
kind of hard to
especially
find now,
it's
which is a
very hard to
bummer.
find.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like looking for it online and I couldn't. You can't even rent it anywhere, or
Right.
yeah, it's nuts. So, but I feel like as a kid, the freakiest thing was always the crypt keeper himself. Was always just you know, eh, it's so funny because I feel like in my childhood, so many of like the scary figures were people that would crack jokes, you know.
Sure. Yeah, Freddy, Chucky, Crypt
Yeah,
Keeper, they're all
yeah,
hitting it.
all
I
in it.
agree. I've mentioned this before briefly, but my dad had like a mask from the Tales from the Crypt show in the
Oh
90s.
no.
And so I had this real like attraction revulsion thing going on
Mhm.
with it where I would like constantly take it and play with it and then like wind up scaring myself
Oh
with
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
John Casier really knocks it out of the park. He's
Oh,
great in that role.
he's so great. Yeah. And also that house.
Mm,
That house in the opening and the closing of the show where, you know, I mean it's in this movie too, but just it's such
amazing set.
a yeah, it's really incredible. Really really good stuff there. Did you watch the show or
Yeah, so I didn't watch it that much as a kid because like I said
Mhm.
I was pretty scared as a child, but
Yeah.
since then I have watched almost the entire run. I still have some of the like 6th and 7th seasons to go, I
Mhm.
think, but I've seen a big chunk of it and certainly there are some that are better than others,
Yeah.
but you know, by and large it's like a fun. I feel like they just don't make shows like this that much anymore where you're like allowed to have some like filler ones that are just kind of
They
like, hey, I'm
really
having a
don't.
good time.
Yeah. God. I it's so funny too cuz this is kind of a weird story, but a few years ago I was in LA and I was kind of pitching a TV show and I met with like this Netflix guy and the night before like I popped on Demon Knight like just to relax
Sure.
and me and this Netflix guy were like making small talk and I told him that I was like, "Oh man, I you know what I rewatched last night? I rewatched Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight." He's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Well, you know Tales from the Crypt." He's like, "No."
Oh
And I was
man.
like, "What are you talking? You work for Netflix. What the fuck are you?" And then like I mean, of course it's obvious that like, you know, a lot of these people they don't you know, these people that work in TV, they don't actually like watch TV or anything but
Right.
it's so crazy that somebody my age did not like he was ignorant of Tales from the Crypt growing up, you
Yeah,
know.
it feels like
But
you'd get it just from osmosis at some
yeah.
point.
Yeah, the Crypt Keeper, you know, he was a fucking 90s sex symbol, basically, you know. So
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Um, this didn't start as a Tales from the Crypt movie, though.
Right.
Ethan Reif, Cyrus Voris, and Mark Bishop wrote the first screenplay on Spec in 1987, 2 years before the show even started.
Wow. Yeah.
And it
Uh
had quite a while to go until it landed in its final placement here. You know, the
right.
first alternate take was Tom Holland wanted to follow up Child's Play with Chris Sarandon as the collector and Tommy Lee Jones as Breaker.
Oh, wow. Ooh, that would have been interesting. Although I
Yeah,
feel like Chris Sarandon would I don't know if he could have done what Billy Zane did with that role. That was
yeah,
I mean, that was incredible.
it's true. You know, Chris Sarandon is a lot more like stern than Billy
Yeah.
Zane is, but Tommy Lee Jones, I think, is kind of an interesting choice there, especially around like
Yeah.
the Natural Born Killers time where he like had a little bit
Right.
of goofiness to him. Who knows?
Yeah. Wait, was he in Natural Born Killers?
Yeah, he's the warden.
Oh God, it's been so long since I've seen that. But yeah, I guess also that would be kind of around Under Siege times when yeah, so he's like fully exploring his craziness. But this would
This
be
was
kind of
sanctioned buffoonery.
yeah, but I would like to see him in the collector role,
Hmm.
honestly. I think that would be interesting.
Yeah. Um, the next attempt was, or the next real attempt, because it kind of sat with
Mhm.
the guy who wrote Pumpkinhead for a little bit. But next, Mary Lambert took a crack at it. She wanted to
Mm.
make Edward Furlong Uncle Willie, and
No way. What?
that would have been something.
What?
And then this is the casting I really like is
Uh
Willem Dafoe as the collector.
oh yeah, for sure. He already looks like a demon, you know. So yeah.
And the real big change that she wanted to make to the story was that she wanted to make the demon knights all enslaved people, sort of the most oppressed among you will deliver salvation kind of thing. But then
Mm.
Pet Cemetery 2 was a huge flop, and so she went to director jail basically.
Uh wait, did she Did she ever come out of? Oh no, I'm thinking of Mary Harron, because Mary
Right.
Harron did American Psycho, but
Right.
did Mary Lambert do anything else after that, or?
I don't think she did a ton else after that, but she definitely has done some stuff. I know that she's like on Twitter being like, I want to do another horror movie.
Oh
Somebody please
man,
pay me to do this.
I guess
So
yeah. Twitter is modern director jail, I guess. So.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the goal is to end up so busy that you don't have time for Twitter.
Right. Yeah. If you let me know how you get there, please.
Charles Band then wanted to take a crack at it, but there was financial stuff always happening at Full Moon. So that held it up. And eventually it wound up with Joel Silver, who just so happened to be looking for a third script to round out a package of Tales from the Crypt movies, since Tarantino wanted, in their opinion, too much money for From Dusk Till Dawn.
Right. Yeah. Now that, I don't know how that would From Dusk Till Dawn as like a Tales from the Crypt movie. That feels like that couldn't really be contained within that world.
Yeah.
Or it would have been like a very stripped down version of that.
Yeah, Robert Rodriguez feels like he really had to kind of have his little outsider filmmaking stuff happening, get like Savini and all them involved. I don't know if that happens in the studio environment. That would have been Tales from the Crypt. So.
Yeah. And then finally, the script got in the hands of the Crypt Keeper, who got to direct it.
Right.
Because within the reality of the movie, he directed it.
Exactly. That's right. He has his big screamier. Gil Adler, though, was not only a producer for this movie, but he had worked on the show. And so he said, Tales as a television series had been very successful, and we knew we wanted to do something in long form, but while being respectful to the foundation that the series had laid. We had a lot of conversations with Universal over several months before we were able to find a script that we knew we could adapt for the Tales from the Crypt format. I believe the original script had been over at Joel's for some time, and it had the special kind of energy and monsters that we were looking for. Yeah. And I do think that this movie does feel like it fits the universe really well. It has the zany off the wall stuff. It has monsters that are there and a little creepy, but not insanely over the top or anything. It really does fit the universe in a way that can't have been easy to find.
Yeah, and that modern edge that I guess, was kind of necessary and also fit with the TV show.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Adler approached Ernest Dickerson, who was a director of photography for Spike Lee, and he had been transitioning to directing with Juice and Surviving the Game. But a lot of the industry saw him as a, quote, hip-hop director. So Dickerson was happy to have Demon Knight cross his desk because it was so different from everything else he was being offered, saying, quote, I've always enjoyed films that did a bit of genre blending, and I thought the story for Demon Knight did that perfectly. It was the perfect storm of horror, humor, thrills, and some mystery to it, and a lot of emotion. So I immediately knew this was going to be a very atypical horror movie to be involved with. I remember Gil came to me while I was mixing Surviving the Game, and he must have liked what he saw that day because he offered Demon Knight to me right after that initial meeting.
Oh, wow. Did you see Surviving the Game?
I haven't seen that.
Oh man, I remember watching that as a kid and loving it, and I've been wanting to rewatch it ever since. But Ice-T is he's in top form in that one. That's some strong tea right there.
Full caffeine.
Yeah, full of caffeine. That boy. Yeah, they spill the tea. They try to spill the tea in that one. They can't spill the tea.
Can't do it.
Also on Ernest Dickerson, did you notice how he name drops himself in the movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a power move. I respect that.
That was something else. Like usually like they do something like that where like they mention a soldier or something, or like a hero, or I would have expected them to be like, his name was Zemeckis or something,
but, or like the guy who started Tales from the Crypt.
Right. Yeah.
No, Dickerson was like, fuck that. I'm in there, baby.
Yeah. Pretty bold. Bold. Yeah.
In the commentary track, so the Blu-ray had two commentary tracks. I listened to them both, and the first one is Ernest Dickerson, and he said that he watched here and there, but wasn't a regular watcher of the show. his real affiliation was to the comics, which he did used to read. And he had also been the DP for the New York crew on Tales from the Dark Side. So he sort of had an idea of how this style went. And one of the big differences from the previous attempts was that Dickerson just liked the story how it was. Like, he wasn't trying to make any huge changes, like Mary Lambert was trying to shift it and everything. So he felt like they were in a good starting position.
Yeah.
And the Blu-ray also had a behind-the-scenes documentary. A lot of great behind-the-scenes stuff.
I watched that this morning. Yeah,
it's really fun, and it was funny to me when the writers were talking about like dragging their heels a bit at first, and they were like, "Oh, it's a hero story, not a monster story," and they kept trying to restructure it. And finally, the Tales guys were like, "All right, get the fuck out of here."
Yeah. It's nice that they were able to laugh about that, you know. That's awesome.
They assembled, though, an incredible ensemble here, and Adler knew that it was important that the whole cast be good. He said, quote, "We knew we were making something very different, and we were constantly nervous about it, but we knew that at the end of the day, if the audiences cared about these characters, they were going to love everything else about the movie. And that, to me, is the biggest reason Demon Knight stands out. You cared about all these people, not just those with top billing, because we really paid attention to making sure all of these character relationships felt authentic." And I totally think that they hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. I mean, if there's something that really makes me keep coming back to this movie, it is like the cast and how incredible they all are and working together. And yeah, just it's so surprising how like vast, like how deep that cast is, like just with the talent in it. It's insane.
It really is. First up, we got William Sadler as Breaker. He's hot off Bill and Ted and Die Hard 2. Shawshank is around the corner. This is like right in the Sadler sweet spot, baby.
Yeah. He's what a face.
Yeah. Oh, he does such a great job with this like aged, weary defender thing here. And also, he was in the first episode of the TV show.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. I didn't know that. Wow.
So that's a fun nod.
Wow.
Next up is Billy Zane as simply the Collector. Just, I mean, incredible.
Just I mean, he, in my mind, seeing this movie for the first time at 10, he was like a star to me. And, you know, and then he was in Titanic, which I heard he got because of this, which I love. That's like, that's incredible.
He deserved
and it's also, yeah, no duh. But also, like, I don't know. I'm so surprised that he's done well for himself, but I wish he was like a little. I think he should have been a little bit bigger.
I totally agree. I like the Phantom. I think that's a really fun superhero movie.
Yeah,
he's one of the really best parts of the second season of Twin Peaks. He's a lot of fun in that. I definitely agree. He should have been a little bigger.
Great cameo in Zoolander as himself.
That's right.
Yeah.
And people loved working with Billy. Dickerson said, quote, "Billy was a great ally because he was determined to make a great movie."
Yeah.
That's what you want.
You can feel it. You can really feel it in his performance. He's that's like a dream role of mine, to do something like that, you know, sinister but cocky. It's like the kind of thing that Ryan Reynolds keeps trying to do. But like, you know, I don't know about you personally. For me, I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
It gets very frustrating. The faux smarmy charm that he's going for, it oozes effortlessly off of Billy Zane for real.
Yeah. Totally, literally. Yeah.
Dickerson also praised the additions that Billy brought to the Collector. He said he made all the wardrobe choices for his character, including the great duster jacket, which just made him look like such a timeless villain. And a lot of Billy's performance was improv too. When you have a talent like his, though, you'd be stupid not to give him the freedom with a character. And you could tell he really loved the character of the Collector too, because he put everything he had and more into his performance.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
We also have Jada Pinkett Smith as Geraldine. She is badass, she's smart, and importantly, she subverts a lot of the tropes about survival in horror movies, something that Dickerson was deliberately going for, and he specifically wanted her after seeing Menace to Society. And she really brings a lot to it as well. It's important to have like an anchor against against Billy Zane's character, and she does such a great job of providing that other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I kind of want to slap Chris Rock again, just for G.I. Jane 2. That's all you're gonna say about
Oh man,
one of the greatest performances in a '90s horror movie.
oh yeah, hell
Yeah.
yeah.
If only Chris Rock said, "Hey Jada, I love the hair. You kind of look like you did in Demon Knight. All would be well with the world
Everybody
today."
would have laughed. They would have said, "Oh yes, Demon Knight."
It would have trended on Twitter. People would have watched it. It would have been, yeah.
All of a sudden, we're getting new 4K copies
Oh
of
my,
the show and the
uh,
movie.
uh,
That's the
Utopia.
alternate
Yeah.
timeline.
Yeah.
But you can also see this interest in subverting sort of expectations extend beyond Geraldine as well, with people kind of holding on longer than you'd expect or dying quicker / at all. I think that it's a really difficult movie to predict the first time you're watching it.
Yeah, totally. Also, that deputy who he sticks around, and then him and CCH Pounder die heroically, which is which I love that.
Absolutely.
Supper time. Yeah.
We got Dick Miller as Uncle Willie. They all said it was a fanboy dream to work with Dick, who they'd all grown up seeing in the Roger Corman movies. I loved in the documentary when he was like, yeah, I signed up to do the movie before reading the script. And as it got bigger and bigger, I was like, oh, this is a pretty good part.
Yeah. I can't believe the Edward Furlong thing. That's such a bombshell.
Yeah. It's what a different performance it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, Dick Miller is a legend though. He's so good in this.
Yeah.
He really fits it. Seems like a real sweetie, that guy.
Yeah.
You also get Charles Fleischer as Wally, who most people probably know as the voice of Roger Rabbit. He's also great in Zodiac.
Yes. Yeah.
He said, quote, I liked the fact that Wally had a duality to his nature. And really his only downfall was that he fell for the wrong girl. We've all been there. And then he laughed and he said, so he's a guy I think a lot of people could relate to. It was also my first on-screen kiss too. So that's another reason that Demon Knight holds a special place in my heart, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how he is kind of a sweet guy, but then you find out that he was planning on murdering people at his post office.
Oh my God, it's truly shocking when they open up the lockers.
And it's such like a 90s thing too, like the whole going postal thing, where I feel like that was such a big joke in the 90s, and now I never hear anybody making jokes like that. Like there's a sight gag in Naked Gun 3 with a postal worker with an AK-47.
Yeah.
It
it was funny in the commentary for the secondary one, the one with like the stunt guys and the special effects guys. They mentioned something kind of similar, and then they were like, and this is in 2015, and now they were like, if we were gonna make a similar joke, it would be like a school. And I was like, Christ, this is like so glad to see things have improved.
Yeah. Oh God.
So that was it is interesting that going postal has kind of fallen off the lexicon. But then he also said, in all seriousness, I really don't remember a movie that I've worked on where we all shared that kind of chemistry on and off screen, which is why Demon Knight is still one of my favorite experiences that I've ever had as an actor, which you love to hear.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
You also have Thomas Hayden Church as Roach. He had only been in Tombstone previously, so real early for him. And apparently Thomas Hayden Church hugged Dickerson every morning and would tell him that he was the best smelling guy he knew.
Oh, God. This is the kind of shit you want to hear about the makings of all your favorite movies, you know? Oh, man. Wow. Damn.
Sometimes something will come up in a discussion and I'm just like, that's gotta go in. Gotta go in.
Yeah. Definitely.
The cast is rounded out by CCH Pounder, who everyone was rightfully complimentary of. and Brenda Bach as Cordelia, both excellent. Cece in particular is doing a lot of fun little decisions. Her performance, when they like have the vodka and she's like, "Give me that."
Yeah, she's I mean, she should have been in more horror movies. Yeah.
So the creatures were the one thing that did kind of go through a lot of changes. Todd Masters, the special effects guy, budgeted out the demons, and then the studio was like, okay, please hold. And then they came back with another version of the script where the demons kept their human form, but wore sunglasses and suits that covered their fire eyes. And Masters was like, you can't not deliver demons in a movie named Demon Knight.
Right.
Which is correct.
Yeah. Really glad he fought for that.
Yeah, and so he took another pass at it, and the compromise is very skinny actors with prosthetics instead of suits, plus foot-high stilts and diapers holding motorized tails. And they said it made funny servo noises when they moved because of the tails.
That's incredible.
Masters said, I wanted the look of the demons to be these really emaciated and dried up creatures that looked like they had been lying around in the desert for eons. From the time that I had the initial conversation with Gil about the project to the time that they began shooting, that was about a month or a month and a half, which meant that we had to work fast, and oftentimes we were working on the fly to always stay a step ahead of production. And because our budget was tight and the build on Demon Knight was ambitious, some of the guys from our crew ended up playing the demons in the film. We were planning on using leg extensions for the creatures, and since they were going to be around this stuff a lot and understood the mechanics, it just made sense. So they practiced a lot too, which is why the demons end up looking so cool. They don't look like guys trying to run around in suits.
Yeah. I also love the rings on the face and like, you know, the little jewelry that they have.
It's a lot of fun. Dickerson, he thinks that the orcs from Lord of the Rings are sort of borrowing from the demons in this movie.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that being a possibility.
It's funny that they borrowed the punch through the head from Dead Alive, and now what's good for the goose is good for the gander, they say.
For sure, yeah.
Masters also said that the collector was originally conceived as a flame demon, but this is before the proper CGI technology existed, so they had to scrap that idea. I think he ended up being a way more effective villain in human form than he would have been had he looked purely demonic, because you can get a lot of humor out of that human presentation, and I think that allowed Billy much more room to play around too.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. And also just the reveal at the end when he's destroyed and his true form shows, it's really freaky, and it's incredible.
A lot of fun. It kind of takes you by surprise. You're like, I think I've gotten all the surprise out of this movie at this point. It's right at the end, and then boom, giant demon erupt.
Giant demon on fire.
They had a shooting schedule of 40 days, and so what they did was, instead of 40 night shoots, which they felt would be bad for the crew, was they got an airport hangar at the Van Nuys Airport, and they built the hotel and landscape inside the hangar, covered it in black, and then shot inside. Basically, they had their own studio there.
That's awesome.
And they loved having that complete control. But the one issue was the pigeons that roosted there. And they said that what they had to do was like shoot blanks to scare them into silence. And they had like 5 minutes to get a take in before they were back and like gobbling in the rafters.
Oh man.
That's called working around your challenges.
Yeah. Imagine if that was your job, just having to shoot a fake gun to scare pigeons for 5 minutes every couple of minutes.
I've done worse.
Yeah, I've had much worse jobs.
Dickerson said it had about a $10 million budget, which is not that bad for the kind of horror movie like this, especially in 1994 dollars. And Demon Knight debuted at number 3 in its opening weekend of January's Friday the 13th, 1995. Indeed.
Yeah.
And it made 21 million during its theatrical run, so a success, even if critics were mixed on it. All right.
Sorry.
What
did Ebert give it?
You know, I actually didn't look into what Ebert gave it because he is so often not a fan of horror movies.
Yes,
for a while, he had gleaned the title of Blahip villain, Roger Ebert. So But yeah, we used to check in with what he was thinking, but I didn't notice what he gave this one.
Yeah, I'm guessing it was a pan, but
Yeah, that sounds right. Feels like a fair guess.
yeah,
But you never know. Sometimes he liked things you'd never expect.
that's
So
true. And there is religion involved, and he is
he's a
fan
sucker.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so let's get into the movie. We talked about the context already. First things first, they do start with the intro from the show, miniature exterior of the mansion to a full-size set as they zoom through to the sounds of the classic Danny Elfman theme. Boy, that's good.
Really great. It's so funny too, because most TV shows coming to movie format, this would kind of be seen as lazy, where you're kind of just like taking the exact same intro. There's nothing even like souped up about it.
Right.
But it's such a great intro.
Right.
And it already is like so theatrical that it's so welcome.
That's a classic. If it ain't broke, don't fix it situation.
Yeah.
We also get this fake out with a hot lady being like, I killed my husband so he can steal his money.
I love it so much. I love when a movie opens with a fake horror movie being shot. That's
the body double
this
style.
Body double, yeah, exactly. It's so like, I don't know. They seem to really put on like all the bells and whistles for it too. And then the John Larroquette reveal.
Oh, so funny.
I love it.
Yeah, and I mean the effects look great. The effects guys said that making this like dissolving body was really hard, and I believe it because it's goopy as hell. It also is funny to me that this is like basically a full hyper compressed episode. In the 2 minutes that we've seen, you get the whole concept and arc. And I mean, it's just like the most effective storytelling I've seen in a really long time.
Yeah.
This was actually directed by Gil Adler, not Dickerson, but part of what makes the movie interesting is that since there isn't a typical Tales from the Crypt comeuppance at the end of the movie proper, I think it's nice to kind of get one squeezed in here. Like you get a regular Tales from the Crypt episode up top, and then you say, all right, I'm ready to go for whatever you got next.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. And the opening does, I mean, like Tales from the Demon Knight kind of has like, it has some of the humor of Tales from the Crypt, but this felt like a real presentation of that humor.
Definitely.
But I'm also kind of, it does feel like it's a little edited. Like it kind of gets into Demon Knight very quickly. But I kind of appreciate that though, because I think it's like all right,
we're here for Demon Knight.
Yeah. I'm excited for you, Crypt Keeper. You're finally getting your shot at Hollywood.
That's right.
Let's see the goods.
That's right. And he screams cut. We got to get our intro from the Cadaver with the savoir faire. The Crypt Keeper emerges from behind the camera. It turns out he's gone Hollywood in a major way. So Fright's camera action. And him waddling out from behind the camera is very funny to me.
Oh my God. I honestly think when I watched this movie as like a 10-year-old, that was maybe the scariest thing in the world to me.
It felt to me like in the Muppet movie when you see Kermit walking. This was my Kermit walking.
Yeah.
They said that the actor had a green sock on his head so that they could put the Crypt Keeper in there. But the special effects guys said that the body is the dang Hamburglar.
What?
Yeah, that the guy who played the Hamburglar for the McDonald's commercials.
Oh my God.
That's him under the sock. So he played the Crypt Keeper.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
they didn't do any kind of, there wasn't any kind of Scooby-Doo reveal on set. It's the Hamburglar.
Oh my God. Crafty's been looking for you. But we do get into Demon Knight proper. Breaker is being pursued by the Collector as they drive along a dark and winding road. But old Breaker runs out of gas, so he swerves over and starts shooting at Zane's car, which erupts into flames and then still T-bones him in a giant explosion.
And what an opening. It's all scored by Hey Man, Nice Shot by Filter, which is like, what a song, I feel like that song was in like half of all action movie trailers of the 90s. And like it was, and for them to have that song in the movie, Huge.
Huge.
Yeah,
You get pumped up.
totally.
He did make it out though, scrambles for the passenger side, but when he looks at his hand, it's marked with some glowing stars and one fades out with a roar. This is also when the list of executive producers rolls in the opening credits. It is quite a list of names. You got Richard Donner, David Giller, and Walter Hill, who are big names in the Alien franchise, among many others. Joel Silver and Robert Zemeckis. And Joel Silver, obviously, not obviously, he produced Predator 1 and 2, Matrix 1 and 2, the Lethal Weapon movies, and more. But what really shocked me to learn is that he is also one of the 3 inventors of Ultimate Frisbee.
Oh, yeah. I think I knew that. I think I read that somewhere once. That is what a life. What a life he lived.
A success twice over.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Also, supposedly one of the inspirations for the Les Grossman character in Tropic Thunder.
Yes. Yeah, which I hear is coming back, that character.
Oh,
we all love that character so much. So yeah, and
so he had to come back.
It's definitely the time and place for a comedy movie about that guy to come back.
Yeah,
so.
I love striking while the iron is ice cold.
Yeah.
The collector seems to have miraculously survived the crash as well. I love his little airbags, gotta love them line that he tosses up there.
There's that humor.
But our other guy, Breaker, although he goes unnamed for a while, certainly does seem sketchy as he tells the police there, because he fails to steal a car and he flees into the night.
Yeah.
He does meet Uncle Willie, who offers him a drink and takes him to a boarding house. It used to be a church, but shut down from lack of interest. And he checks his hand again, and it's down to 1 glowing star. Ooh. Uh-oh is right. Inside is Cordelia, a working girl. Jerry Lynn, who is on work release from her prison sentence for stealing, who she's doing a bunch of odd jobs. And Irene, who runs the joint. She says she never rents short term or to strangers until he pulls out a fat stack of cash, and she agrees to make an exception for Mr. Smith. There is some kind of like electricity between Geraldine and Mr. Smith as they size each other up. I also really love this crane shot as the camera rises with them as they climb up the stairs. Just, I think that because Dickerson was a DP, that he's able to sort of speak the language and communicate what he wants really effectively. And so there are a lot of really great shots that kind of get overlooked when people talk about this movie.
Yeah, totally. I think it's also like kind of setting the stage for like it's almost like he's communicating the fact that like, yes, most of this movie is going to take place in this location, but we're going to like,
you're in good hands.
You're in good hands. Yeah, exactly. So
there's also Wally Enfield, who just got fired for misplacing a bunch of mail. He has a big time crush on Cordelia, and she definitely likes him too. Even debates giving him a freebie for consolation about his job.
If only.
Yeah.
God, could have prevented a lot of death, but well, yeah.
Bacchus said she liked this character a lot because, quote, I never saw Cordelia as a whore. She was always damaged and a little sad and pathetic too, but there was a lot going on with her that wasn't written out on the page, and that intrigued me. You don't see that too often. She had some very interesting character dynamics, especially with Roach and Wally, and I liked the fact that despite all her flaws, she still had this sweet personality to her. And I agree. I think that it is an interesting character. It's kind of like a stock archetype, but done in a much more interesting way that she does feel a little more fleshed out.
Yeah, I agree. I think, she did a great job.
Yeah, totally. The cops have taken in Billy Zane, who says Mr. Smith is a thief, and they get a call about the attempted vehicle theft. So, he's on the trail again. Meanwhile, quote unquote, Mr. Smith is chowing down on mushroom soup and ketchup.
That was mushroom soup?
That's mushroom soup, he said.
Oh my God. I
Very
didn't even
gross.
catch it. I never knew what that was ever.
That was in the commentary because the guy specifically asked. He was like, what is that? And he was like, yeah, it's mushroom soup, which is really disgusting.
That's that's worse than what I thought it was gonna be. Wow,
He said,
horrifying.
yeah, I agree. It is really like viscerally gross.
And then him putting ketchup in it too. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
Dickerson said that even though it is funny, it also was supposed to like age him and say that, oh, he's from a time where food needed that flavor cover and he just got used to it. I was like, okay, whatever you say, Dickerson.
Yeah, okay. Food needed that flavor cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also got one of my favorite gags in the whole movie when the cat Cleo jumps up on the table and Cordelia is like, I'll take care of dessert. And Irene says, get that pussy off the table. And Cordelia jumps up looking guilty. So Irene says, I meant the cat.
Incredible.
Very, very funny. Just great delivery all around. Just great stuff. And Roach arrives and he takes Cordelia right upstairs while he mopes from the library. And again, very funny. Their little exchange about like edible underwear. And he's like, oh, I want to find pieces of panty in my salad. And she's like, wow, you're so dirty, Roach. But suddenly the police burst in with Billy Zane in tow and they try to arrest Mr. Smith. He grabs Geraldine and holds her at knife point. But the collector encourages them, saying he won't do it. And true enough, he can't, throwing down the knife as they walk closer.
God, I love how it like really just gets going, like there's like a very, just like we meet everybody, we know what everybody's deal is. And then it's just like, let's go. And then like in a lesser movie, like, the cops would take Breaker in and there'd be some killings, but nobody would know what's going on. But this is just like, they know what we want. It's so great.
Yeah, they kind of trust us to be along for the ride and not need to have it stretched out in a way that it gets you going like, well, I'm here to see this confrontation. Yeah. The assault on precinct 13 of it all.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
And they say, well, Mr. Breaker, not Mr. Smith. Cece's reaction is so great when she's like, I can't believe it. He told me it was Smith. Oh, wow, you really bought it. They search for Billy Zane's, quote, stolen piece of antiquity, but he doesn't have it on him. And Bob the policeman doesn't find anything in his room either, but he does drag Cordelia and Roach down to the lobby as well, interrupting their tune-up and lube job, as he puts it, considering the car battery involvement.
I mean, who among us has never, That's called making love where I'm from. So.
That's a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
According to the computer, Frank Breaker died over 5 years ago. Whoa.
That's, doesn't add up.
Doesn't add up. And so Uncle Willie snitches on where Breaker stashed the MacGuffin key. And I think it's, of course, interesting that right away, the collector can't touch it. And you see him kind of getting everyone to put it into the box and everything. Yeah. But things take a turn when they say, hey, your car was stolen too, so you're coming to the station as well. And he doesn't want to. So he quickly punches through the sheriff's face.
I mean, a cab, right?
We can't get mad about it,
Yeah. God, just what a punch.
Yeah.
So incredible. And then punching Breaker with the head in the it's just,
it being stuck on his hand is so funny to me. When he has incredible. To like go down and like rip it off. I also really loved again CCH Pounder's like spit take here when he does a full-on spit take. It's really great.
It was very real.
Breaker frees himself and he gets the key, which burns the collector's face, and he flees out the window in pain, disgust, and anger. And this moment was actually an idea from Sadler, who didn't get as much credit for improvising, but he had a few bits here and there. And he pointed it out to why he loved working on this movie and with Dickerson, who was willing to let all his actors find sort of new ways to approach their performances, saying, quote, Ernest was always looking for these moments that would bring out the humor in the story, but he was also very collaborative and would be open to anything you wanted to do with a scene or with your character, which really gets you your juices flowing as an actor. And I think that's part of why this is such a great cast, is because they all felt supported in that way and are bringing a lot to it. It's not
Yeah.
just Billy Zane who's giving it his all.
Yeah, totally.
Now, the collector condemns the property and using a very gross coke nail cuts his hand. The green blood gets tossed around him on the dirt, and the demon birth begins. Really great stuff. The green blood was just glow stick material, and they said you could only get it from glow sticks, so they spent literal days just cutting them up and draining them.
Oh my God.
That sounds worse than the shooting for the pigeons.
Yeah, but it was all worth it in the end,
Sure. And Masters said that this was a nod to Ray Harryhausen. Both Ernest and I were big fans of his, and because we couldn't do this elaborate setup for the scene the way it was originally written, we really had to find a few tricks on how to pull all that off on the budget. I think these scenes may have been the final ones we shot too, because I remember working with the second unit that day, and first unit had already finished up. We were under a lot of pressure to make sure we got it right and got it done in time. But it does. It looks cool. They're gross. I like the collector's little kiss on the back of the head for the one guy.
Oh my God. I fall in love with Billy Zane more and more as the film progresses. And that really, that kind of, at that point, I'm already like enamored with this man. And now it's like, I'm with him till the end on this now.
He did it. He
really did it. Yeah.
They attack the boarding house, but Breaker fends them off with some bullets to the eyes, and that releases their tortured souls. It's funny to me that Dickerson's explanation for this boils down to, I thought it looked cool. I'm like, no more explanation needed, my man.
Definitely not. I also like how some of them, like, they kind of just, or there's that one that kind of just like stands there when, like, and like almost like is taunting to get shot in the eyes.
You got, incredible stuff. Sometimes you gotta strut your stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess so. You're a demon,
Breaker pours some blood from the key at the thresholds, which creates a barrier, and Roach and Cordelia make a run for his car, but the demons are waiting and attack, and it's only thanks to Wally that they're saved, although he takes a soul blast to the chest in the scuffle.
Terrible.
Poor Wally.
Poor Wally.
Breaker explains the situation to the gang, and Roach wants to throw him to the wolves, or demons, I guess. And Breaker says it won't matter, so we have to stick together. We also find out that Cleo the cat is still out there, which is sad. Another really great shot, though, when we get the stained glass cross tied together with some Dutch angles, and it's like cutting back and forth, and that can only mean one thing. It's flashback time, baby.
I do like these flashbacks. I think they're very well done, and
they're fun. They're short, which is key.
Yeah, they're very stylistic.
Yeah.
I think very good job.
And we see the crucifixion, and a thief named Sirach tries to give the key to a demon, but it gets struck by lightning. And for this scene, they brought in truckloads of quote unquote dirt from a pig farm. And they were like bragging about what a great deal they got. And then when it arrived, it was half pig shit. So everybody refused to work in the hangar because it smelled terrible. And then the health department shut it down.
Oh,
and so they had to shovel it all out and get clean dirt after all that.
Oh, geez.
You gotta measure twice, cut once.
Yeah. Can't cut corners in this biz.
Geraldine almost gets her head blown off, shocking Breaker out of this, and he apologizes for holding her hostage, but she says that they're cool, that she had a feeling about him, knew he wouldn't do anything. And when Irene pulls out a shotgun she had stashed, while Cleo appears in the kitchen. She did survive, actually, and she leads Breaker and Geraldine to chase it because she wants to check it if it's possessed, or he wants to check if it's possessed. Cleo isn't possessed, but leads them to a hidden exit into the mines downstairs. Roach is stirring the pot upstairs, though. He wants to get the key and give it to the demons. Plus, he slaps Cordelia for calling him an asshole and getting friendly with Wally.
Starting to not like this guy.
Yeah, that's right. He had us. He was relatable with the battery stuff, and now
I
he's losing
know.
us.
And the minimum wage, you
Yeah,
know.
right.
Yeah.
And she cries upstairs, and suddenly the collector's voice is seducing her with talk of love. I really love these effects here as he's outside, but you can see the movements impacting her, like wiping a tear and touching her lip. He's like, "Let me in."
Yeah.
Ooh.
Just let him in. It's Billy Zane. Come on.
If you're cold, they're cold. Let him in.
Yeah. Listen to your friend Billy Zane, you know. Good thing that Owen Wilson wasn't there, man.
Yeah. Wally goes to check on her and she seems out of it, but she comes on to him and they start to smooch. And in the behind the scenes doc, Cordelia says that he asked her to make sure that she didn't use any tongue so his wife wouldn't get upset.
I did hear this. That's a good wife guy right there.
Yeah, it's cute. It's pretty cute.
Yeah.
The gang wants to make a run through the tunnel, but Breaker says it's too risky, and they all protest, but are interrupted by screams from upstairs. And they go to check. Cordelia has been possessed, attacking Wally. This scene is really great. The demon looks incredible, rips off Irene's arm as she tries to stop it. And the head freaking explodes when Breaker shoots it with the shotgun from behind.
Slow motion.
And then they have to get the eyes separate. That's a nice touch at the end there.
Yeah, I really thought the eyes were going to like crawl across the floor or something.
Dude. I really thought it was going to go full Evil Dead with the hand and it was going to, but it still works. It still explodes in a flash of green light.
Oh,
very cool stuff. And this is actually a toned down version because one of the producers' wives got mad when they were going to have Cordelia's mouth become like a vertical slit with gruesome teeth to conjure a feeling of a vagina and keep in touch with like the prostitution and everything.
Oh my God.
And they said, you can't do that, actually.
Goddamn producer's wife.
This is the reverse wife guy.
Yeah.
The opposite of Charles. And Roach tries to take the key, but Breaker holds him off. So Breaker goes, so he goes for the mines instead. And the hammering brings Breaker back to the crucifixion again, where the blood of Christ is being collected after Sirach sees it burn the demon who wanted the key in the first place. Roach sends on Uncle Willie in first, which is like, come on, man.
No, don't do that.
Geraldine goes in too, and she finds the little kid who squealed about the car down there. And his parents were possessed and they attack. And apparently there was like 15 more minutes here that he reluctantly cut for. I think it is to the movie's benefit. I would like to see it removed from the context of it. But I think that
about the parents or
this is where he goes in. There's like a big attack and he the guy argues with the dad about Roach argues with the dad about like the minimum wage for like a while, apparently.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And they said that it like really kind of fucked with the pacing and we were too much with Roach instead of with Breaker for those parts.
Yeah.
So I think it does make sense to get rid of it. Although if they shot it, I mean, I would like to see it just sort of removed. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
But they managed to retreat to the seal, but Roach's petty shooting breaks it. And they had to run, but now they've lost the ground floor and have to hang out upstairs. I love they apologize for dragging Irene up the stairs, and she's like, "It's okay, vodka's kick again."
Right, yeah.
We got another flashback, this time to World War I. A soldier named Dickerson. There we go.
Here we go.
He's dying in the trenches, and he collects some of his own blood in the key, then hands it to Breaker, who absorbs the memory, and the 7 Hebrew stars glow on his palm, then fade to tattoos. And he says,
I want to see this World War I movie. I feel like if this movie was a bigger hit and it like spawned, and this story in particular spawned a franchise, I would like to see this like World War I Demon Knight movie. I think that would be pretty awesome.
I agree.
Yeah.
Let's see it. HBO.
Come on.
they're famously not they're signing new stuff is what they're doing right now. So
well, you could say something about brand recognition with this. True. I don't know. Get Mary Lambert to direct it,
There we go. It's all coming back, baby.
It's all coming back, yeah.
He says they need the 7 people for the ritual or whatever, and he opens up about the history, starting with Genesis. Strap in. He says the darkness was full of demons who had 7 keys and focused the power of the cosmos until God said, "Let there be light," and scattered the demons and the keys. Unfortunately, they're back and have 6 of them. And if they get the 7th, they're bringing back the darkness. I guess you could say this story keeps them hanging on. Got it.
Say that.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. That's blasphemous. I gotta
go. Roach picks Breaker's pocket of the key, and when Geraldine is looking for the kid named Danny who went missing, she finds herself in a studio with photos of her around the world and the voice of the collector trying to pull her to the dark side. A few things about this. First off, one of the other things that got cut for time was a little bit more of like her talking about wanting to travel and feeling trapped in the town, which is kind of why he was like, "Oh, look at you in Paris and all these other places." But also,
I feel like you get it though.
Exactly,
like,
exactly. It's not necessary.
This is not a great place for a 20-year-old woman,
right? Totally for the movie's benefit. And I also always love the like hands pressing through the wall effect.
Oh my
really
god!
And
then the blood dripping down the face. Yeah.
Oh yeah, cries blood.
That collector, he really knows how to set design for his little fantasy or projection stuff.
He's got a flair for the dramatic, and you must respect it.
Should have just gone into music video directing, at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been a lot easier than chasing down these guys.
Yeah.
But the picture or photo falls to reveal a bunch of demons eating Breaker, and she backs up right into the collector. But when he continues to try and buy her soul and cooperation, she spits in his face, and he says, "You don't trust me? That's okay. We'll work on that."
Foreshadowing,
ominous.
Ominous.
They find Uncle Willie and Danny up in the steeple, drinking and reading Tales from the Crypt comics. And Irene sends Uncle Willie looking for Breaker, but he gets brought into a vision from the collector where he's at a party with a bunch of topless women and gets suckered into drinking the collector's bottle of Long Hard One. Nothing gets you fucked up faster.
Oh my god. When watching this movie as a 10-year-old, oh boy, that scene.
It'll leave an impact on you.
A lot of I must have broken that rewind button watching that scene.
VHS is worn out. And
you're like, yeah.
I don't know how that happened.
I had no idea.
I really like when it cuts to Danny in reality and he's like, Uncle Willie, and Uncle Willie is just like hanging out, standing there. Irene and Deputy Bob are looking for supplies in Wally's room and find 1, the missing mail, which he was reading, and 2, a shitload of guns without ammo, though, and a bunch of grenades because, as you mentioned, he was going to shoot up the post office in Cordelia's honor.
Yeah.
And it's incredible, this other seduction attempt when the collector tries to get Irene with replacing her arm, although he offers it up like a waiter, and she holds up her stump and says that's her giving him the finger.
I loved it. That's incredible.
You gotta laugh.
And she delivers it so perfectly.
The possessed Uncle Willie attacks Breaker, and Geraldine tries to stop him, but can't bring herself to stab Uncle Willie, so he slaps her away with demon strength. But it's enough of a distraction for Breaker to grab a machete and lop Willie's head right off. Sort of a circumcision in that way.
Mazel tov. And then we finally get our little Evil Dead moment.
That's right. It doesn't stop him because they didn't destroy the eyes. It is funny with the body attacking Solo, and then when it like can't see when he covers the head there. But you can't just cover the eyes. You got to destroy him. So he grabs the head and he impales it on a trophy buck. Good stuff.
Really great creative work, guys.
That's right. And while they deal with this, Roach is making his deal with the collector. He doesn't care if he kills the others. If it makes you feel good, do it, he says. First things first, though, he has to clear the blood seal. Truly amazing unrolling the sponge from his mouth. Billy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Even Sadler said it's classic Billy.
He should have done it in every movie. Can you imagine if he did that as the Phantom? If he had a sponge come out? That would have been great.
It's a whole new superpower.
Yeah.
That was something that he just came up with in the moment, and it's really great. They said he had props people racing around trying to find a sponge for him.
Oh man.
And of course the collector lied, and Roach is torn asunder while Zane starts giddily looking for the rest. I love that Roach doesn't get like a bullshit redemption. He's just a scumbag throughout.
Roach. Yeah, it's in the name.
That's right.
Yeah.
They also had a literal fire extinguisher of blood that shot 10 gallons of the stuff. And it was funny listening to the special effects guy be like, you know, you build all these amazing puppets and everything, but you shoot some blood, and that's what everyone on set claps for.
Yeah.
Suddenly he's arrowed through the head, and the gang is in motion up to the steeple. Irene stays behind with Deputy Bob to use the grenade suicide vest. I'm not totally sure why Bob also stayed behind.
You know, I think he just he made his peace with his life.
I guess so.
Yeah, I built up this whole narrative in my head that, you know, he
sure. Hey,
yeah.
I think maybe he just had to hold Irene up vertically because she was so drunk.
I think there was something happening between those two, honestly. I don't know. That embrace at the end. I mean, yeah, it could have been just like, you know, we're gonna die, so we may as well. But I don't know. There's something there. There's something there. Yeah.
And Danny is reading his comics again, and a panel suddenly looks at him, which is fun.
Incredible.
It is. It really is. Breaker is talking about how they're running out of Jesus blood, and instead of pouring it at the threshold, he pours it on Geraldine's hand where it glows, and she makes the barrier instead. This is it. She's the chosen one, he says. He was here to give her the key. But now Danny's possessed, and he wants the key. First off, looks amazing. Second off, the comic now reflecting what's happening as it flips through. Come on, that's so great.
And it looked like it's like a lot of times when they show I feel like they do that gag in a lot of movies, but the comic, it always feels like it was like a rushed thing, and like the animation's not that great. This felt like a real like EC Comics, like a couple of panels there.
Yeah, sure.
They
always hit those vignettes, you know, even Creepshow, which is sort of aping the EC style, hits that as well. And they do a really great job with it, especially because it's sort of like diegetic, like it's in the movie instead of having to be like an external effect coming across the screen. So it is really cool.
Yeah.
And the Danny's demon uses his tongue to bury into Breaker's chest, which looks really awesome as well.
Yeah.
And they fight over the key, and Geraldine kicks him through the window she just barricaded, which explodes him.
Do you think that kid like had a good time in high school, like after making that movie? I would imagine. I mean, I know this movie isn't that popular, but still, like those people who know Demon Knight, I bet they'd be like,
yeah. Oh, he was definitely like showing people.
He was
like, look at this crazy ass movie I made.
Yeah.
Breaker does die, but not before transferring the key and power to Geraldine. And the collector comes up to collect, and he approaches Geraldine, but it's not her blood, asshole. And she burns him by grabbing him with the blood of Jesus soaked hand, revealing herself as the new keeper of the key. I love this funny little dive out of the hole that he does.
Oh yeah.
But she pursues him, and he uses the shower curtain to grab her and forcibly clean her. She manages to stab him in the eye with the key, but he just laughs it off. I love it. He's like, that only works on lower level demons, idiot. She does also manage to swig a mouthful of the blood before he dumps it down the drain. And he drags her away. The bouncing down the stairs really looks painful.
Yeah.
And he tries to get her to come over to the dark side. He says no demon has ever brought over a demon knight, in one piece anyway. And this attempted seduction continues, but she has to stay quiet because of the blood in her mouth. So he gets madder and madder until he's about to kill her, and she spits in his face again, only this time it's not just insulting. The blood fucks up his day.
How does he not notice, though, that she's holding like a crazy amount of liquid in her mouth? I mean, I know that he's making this big speech. He's probably in the zone delivering his speech, and like, you know, so he doesn't even like register this, but you know what?
He's also a demon. Maybe he doesn't even know what he's like, maybe that's just what humans look like sometimes.
Right, yeah. When they're scared, when they get really scared, their
they
cheeks
puff out their
up.
cheeks.
Yeah. That's all right. I'll allow it.
He melts like the guy from RoboCop and then ignites into a skeleton with horns and wings and explodes. Fucking rules.
I also love that like something falls from him that looks like shit. It looks like literal shit falling on the ground.
It sure does.
Incredible.
This whole seduction scene was a reshoot, actually.
Right.
Dickerson said, quote, "The scene in the finale between Geraldine and the Collector where he tries to seduce her wasn't originally in the film, and it's something I've always felt just sticks out a little bit from the rest of the movie. But it came about because someone at a test screening asked, why didn't the devil try to fuck Jada? And one of the film's producers just got really hung up on that idea, so he came up with the disco seduction scene. But we really tried to make it as fun as we could while still being respectful of Jada and her character, too. Billy understood the dynamic that the scene needed, and he knew the Collector wasn't a character motivated by sex either. So he tried to make it more about his sexualized attempt to collect her soul more than trying to actually be intimate with her. And together, we all worked out how they were going to do it and made the best of it. And in the end, the scene ended up being a lot of fun, but that's due to both Billy and Jada more than anything else.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they do. It does feel like they're really making the most of it.
Yeah, it really putting on a show, all the stops.
Yeah. The sun finally pokes through the cloud and Geraldine wakes up. The blood saved her and she survived the explosion. And the key is intact and she refills it from the corpse of Breaker before getting on a bus, but not before putting a barrier at the door just in case. And she was right to do it because there's a new Collector waiting at the very next stop.
Yeah, just as sexy. If not more. Yeah.
He's got a thick mustache. And he says he'll wait for the next one. And it's a really great ending as he walks in the same direction as the bus drives off while whistling the Tales from the Crypt theme song, and the pursuit begins anew.
Yeah.
At a nearby graveyard, a hand emerges and grabs a Scarnation. That's right. It's our pal, the Crypt Keeper, here to wrap things up. He says Geraldine is traveling the world, but tonight is the big premiere. And when he goes up to the red carpet, he gets final cut by a guillotine.
I love these very movie production specific jokes. You know, it's so funny when you're like, why the producers are who they're doing? Especially as a kid watching these movies, that you're just like, okay, if you say so, take your word for it. Yeah.
It actually was the producers there, Gil Adler and Alan Katz were the two guys on either side of the guillotine. And he says, now that's entertainment, and cackles, credits over the camera pulling back through the mansion.
Yeah. And they're also at the Westwood Theater in that final scene, which is I went there last year to see Licorice Pizza.
Ooh,
it's a nice theater.
Yeah. So, I mean, it looks nice from the exterior, so I believe it.
Yeah.
There are a couple mildly amusing credits, actually. Mona is credited as their optical printer, and they said it literally was their printer. They also credited the FX Studios secretary's dog, Rocket the dog, although no credit for Cleo, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't want it.
Yeah, she
she's like, don't put my name on there.
Yeah. She was like, oh, what's that director name that people use when they don't really
Alan Smithy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. She went Alan Smithy on it. We do get a stinger at the very end.
There is? What?
Yeah. There's a funny like Looney Tunes portal, and the keeper pokes his head through and he says, still here, creeps? What's the matter? Didn't get your minimum deadly allowance of murder, mayhem, and madness? Then look for the next one. Dead Easy, coming soon, which didn't happen.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man.
I had no idea it had a stinger. Jeez.
Gotta watch through the credits, bro.
Oh, man. Man, you can't release this episode. I can't have people knowing I don't.
I do really love this, though, because there is a lot of Looney Tunes DNA in
Oh yeah.
Tales from the Crypt, I think. And sort of having this like literal like portal, like it feels like Porky Pig sticking his head through at the end. And it's just really great stuff. I like it a lot. I think it's a great sort of dismount point for the movie.
Yeah.
And leaves you feeling good, baby.
I think so. I would totally agree. Yeah.
And now, Nick, we've reached the part of the episode where we sum up why it's not just a good horror movie, but is in fact the best horror movie ever made. And I'm going to let you start.
Okay. Well, this is the best horror movie ever made because I think it's not so concerned with being the bloodiest, the scariest, uh the most the goriest horror movie. I think there's just a real perfect storm of great actors, great writing, really fun designs, some great thrills. Uh and I think and you just love to see the Crypt Keeper, really like knock one out of the park.
Yeah.
He's been presenting all these stories on TV for years, and you're like, who is this guy really?
Yeah.
This corpse that presents all these like little one act plays on TV, and now he's making his leap to the big screen. There's no way it's going to be any good, and in fact is a great dark roller coaster.
Right. It really is.
Yeah.
It's to me, this is the best horror movie ever made because it is just so fun. And when everybody involved is having fun, that means that they are putting in good work as well. Yeah. And every performance in this, everybody in the crew, it feels like they really loved it. In the commentaries, they talked about how this was like a passion project for a lot of them, that they weren't, breaking the bank with their paychecks from Tales from the Crypt Demon Night. Mm-hmm. And that means that the people who were there wanted to be there. And it totally comes across on screen. It's so fun. I mean, we cannot say enough good stuff about Billy Zane in this movie.
No,
it's just impossible. He, as great as everyone is, he is sort of the load bearing column of this movie. And he does such a great job with it. It's so funny. He is creepy. The effects are incredible and totally fit the tone exactly. Like you said, it's not trying to be too gory or anything. It is exactly what the movie needs.
Yeah.
And I love that Dickerson is so distinctly interested in subverting tropes. He kills a kid. He has a black woman final hero. People hang on.
He has two black women.
Yeah,
two black women in the same movie, which is in the 90s, which is pretty rare.
He does such a great job with keeping you guessing the whole time. Even going back through it, you're like, I don't know if I remember the order people go in or whatever. And that speaks to the twists and turns of the movie to me.
Yeah.
I think that he does a great job along with everyone else, and he leads it to being the best damn horror movie ever made. Woo.
Woo.
Nick, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, this was my
super
pleasure.
Fun.
Yeah.
Please tell the people where they can find you, watch you perform, all that stuff.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd as well. Nick Naney, NickNaney, and I perform all over New York City.
So check them out, folks.
Yeah.
As far as my plugs, you can find me at Little Horror PHL. That username applies pretty much everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd as well. But it also applies to the Patreon. If you're really enjoying the show, you can sign up for the Patreon and get all kinds of great bonus episodes. Especially if you're looking for some other goopy stuff. Me and Mike Mitchell recently talked about The Blob 1988, which is an all-timer for goopy movies. We talked about the 13 best animated horror shorts from 1929 to 1953 with Branson Reese.
Wow.
Truly anything and everything gets covered over there, and things that don't necessarily fit as solidly into best horror movie ever made, but definitely merit discussion. So check that out. And rate and review if you're enjoying the show, but don't feel like paying me anything. All right, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.